What's going on, guys, and welcome back. Today, we're going to be breaking down Proxima Midnight, the new card that comes out on Tuesday. New cards like Moon Knight, Swordmaster have a lot more play, and is she going to have synergy with Corvus Glaive? We're going to break down, is this card essential for discard or completely worth skipping? We're also talking about our 5 most loved cards this season and hated cards. Is Hela on our love or hate list? And then lastly, guys, we're going to be talking about the best decks right now in Marvel Snap. It's Infinity Conquest, so we're going to cover all the decks that you should be playing and that are by far performing the best before the next OTA. We're going to talk about that all today and more in this episode of the Snapchat. And as always, I am joined by Mr. Alex Coccia. Hello, my friend. We enter the last week of the Black Order season, coming off Corvus Glaive, heading into his wife Proxima Midnight. How are you enjoying Hela Snap? Are you enjoying the game right now? And what's going on this fine Monday?
I love Hela Snap. That is so well played, Cozy. That's exactly what it feels like right now, right? There's a lot of Hela, and it's been pretty wild. And it's so funny because, like, yes, there's been some changes to like improve metas, like Hela's meta Hela's viability in the meta is what I meant to say. It's a bit of a tongue twister, but ultimately, it's like the card's kind of been the same for a while. Like, have we just been sleeping on Hela for like months or what?
Okay, I want to start here. Like, in Marvel Snap, right? Would you consider yourself a lucky player or an unlucky player, right? Like, you've had enough stuff happen to you where, and then, the X Mansion flops, Hela, right? Just as like Infinite, left side, you need to win. Are you lucky or not? I'm asking the viewers this too. I'll give it to you first, then I'll answer.
I'm the unluckiest player in Marvel Snap. There's no question about it. Like, I am built to tilt. Like, there is no luck whatsoever in my game plan. That's why I play everything on curve. I leave nothing to chance. I just can't. If I need to top deck something, like if MODOK, if it's turn 5 and I'm like, I need that MODOK, no, I'm getting the one rock that they put in with the Korg, right? Like, it's like, no, there's no luck for me.
I feel like I have decent location luck, right? Like, maybe not X Mansion, but like if Subterranean comes up, I'm like, okay, I only got like a rock this turn. Hela, though, I can't do it. I can't. She's got something against me. I'm watching other players, and it's like Infinite, Giganto, Black Cat. And I'm over here, just hoping for the best, discarding her to hell. Or she's like, hey, let's triple stack this location. How about that? And just give you the loss anyway. I am too unlucky to play Hela, is my consensus.
I actually had a highlight in a recent video where somebody like literally jubileed into a lockjaw, pulled a rock, and then pulled Hela, hit everything absolutely picture perfect, beat me by 1 point. I'm like, yeah, this is what uninstallation looks like. This is I need to get up and walk away for a minute because I am unbelievably tilted.
Well, and I would say with Agatha, I am lucky, though. If I have Agatha by my side, I got a little bit extra luck, but I think it's the game throwing me like a nod. Like, Ego hates me. Ego absolutely hates. District X hates me, too, every single time. It's like, hey, here's a couple cards you'll never play. Maybe like a Destroyer or something. What about, like, the Raft? You get, like, good Raft stuff?
No, I always get Destroyer. Every single time.
Every time.
It's always Destroyer.
Infinite.
Yeah. Sometimes I get Leader and I get excited because Leader's like such a great freebie. You know what I mean? It's such a great zero cost card.
Yeah, I got the Hulk the other day.
Usually it's like Destroyer.
Okay. Well, buddy, we got a good week of Marvel Snap ahead. For some fun subjects as we hit into Infinity Conquest week. We're going to obviously talk about some of the best decks in the game right now for people to be playing, and also just some cards we've liked over the season. Alex, what are we talking about on your side of the Snapchat?
We're going to be talking about Corvus Glaive, and given our final rankings, it's been a very surprising card, and I think we're going to have a really fun discussion about it. Then we're going to be discussing our top 10 discard cards in Marvel Snap in ranked order. It's discard season, and we've got some opinions on who's on the top and who's on the bottom. And then, of course, as with every week, the Snapchat mailbag.
Last week of the season, really hopeful for March. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling the no OTA. It definitely, it hits hard. I know we do this next week, but Black Order season as a whole, what has been your enjoyment factor?
I've enjoyed it. I think these cards have been pretty fun. Like, so far, like, my favorite, Proxima has not been released yet, obviously, but I actually really like the simplicity of Cull Obsidian. Like, I think that was such a good addition to the game, and I've liked it. I've liked the design of the cards. I really have. And Super Giant, I think, is like a thinking man's card. And then you have like Cull Obsidian, which is just like, all the mental energy I put into Super Giant, I don't need it anymore. Let's just put down some 10 power.
I like that. I hope that, we had that with Grandmaster a little bit. I hope we do that again. I like that in the seasons, right? Like, you have one like complex card, one simple. But guys, we'll do it next week. But between Pixie and Hope Summers, both in the same week, God help us. It's going to be absolute mayhem. That's going to be the shakeup. If you guys are waiting for some just pure madness, that's going to be it. Let's talk about Proxima Midnight, though. I mean, obviously, we talked about Corvus. You might think there's not a lot to talk about, but there's a couple of cards that we, not only cards, but just discard in general that we didn't talk about. We wanted to say for this episode, Alex. Proxima Midnight, she comes alongside, in my opinion, one of those spotlight weeks where you're just hoping, I want to get away with the Proxima, and that's it. I hope I can just pull her one key and get out. Dawkin and MODOK. Obviously, if you don't have MODOK, sure, we've been saying that for a while, but pretty bad week, in my opinion.
It is. It's a bit on the weaker side, and they're obviously Series 4 cards as well, right? Dawkin's
Yes.
Series 4 too, I believe. So the actual trade-off on like value there for your Spotlight key is a little lower. So this is one of those like you should probably use tokens week if like you you have the tokens to spare, and like Proxima is the only card you're missing for the week. I would definitely agree. And MODOK's one of those cards that I don't know about you, but like every variant seems terrible except for the Pixel one. The Pixel one's the only one I want. I still haven't pulled it of all the Pixel ones. I want that absolute diarrhea Pixel one.
He's just not a good looking thing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if a variant could do it justice. I mean, we've got the, have you seen the Art Germ takeover coming with the shirtless
I've not
Killmonger?
actually seen any of the cards that are coming, but like
Check this out.
I've got gold ready.
Look at this, guys. For those that are watching, here it is. This is coming, an Art Germ takeover. Some of the most, I don't know what the word, zesty maybe? I don't know. But I mean, look at that Killmonger alone. Magic in the middle. You have Dazzler, and then we have a couple of these that are already in game, but there are several new variants coming. None of the, like, can you imagine a sexy MODOK? What does that look like?
It looks like Killmonger, I guess.
Dude, that's
No, I have
terrifying.
no idea, man.
That's absolutely terrifying. Like, just like a 8-pack MODOK with a... I don't even know. I don't know how to make him sexy. Let's talk about Proxima Midnight. Give our rankings. For those that don't know, she's a 4-cost card. Zabu says hello. 7 power. When this is discarded, Proxima Midnight jumps to your lowest powered location that isn't full. Now, if there's the locations have the same power, she's going to pick one at random. If you have multiple of them, then they act separately. They don't need to take the same location in, which is also pretty nice. Proxima, buddy, let's start with the star ratings. What are you thinking?
I'm leaning towards 3 stars. Willing to go up to 4 for discard, but like it's so tricky because like right now I feel like it's a 3-star card in terms of its capabilities, but the meta and where discard is heading, it feels like Proxima, like I don't know where it actually, I don't know if it's going to elevate any of the best decks. Like in you know what I mean? Like I think it's going to try and create this new type of shell that discard might kind of want to play, but I don't know if it like completely supersedes something like a Hela. I don't know if it ends up in Black Knight. So it's like it's in this weird spot where like I just don't know if it makes any of the top existing decks better.
It's funny. I think we did this with Meek. It can be very tough to be like, it's this in the archetype, it's this outside of it. Let's start with just the bad guys, and that is, hey, if you play discard, awesome. If you don't, this is the most skippable week. She does not have a home really anywhere else outside of discard, so very, very pigeonholed in that archetype. However, it's this situation we get in where it's like, in the archetype, is a must include now on. More pure discard, the APOC builds. In my opinion, with the MODOK, she's a must include moving forward. I even think within forms of maybe Hela will have to test. Black Knight, I actually think a user. We'll have to see with those two. They kind of have their dedicated roles in discard. But the pure dopium of the discard that we used to play, the dependable version, she's going to be a no-brainer. Like, I could give her a billion stars in that role. But you're right. Like, as an average, it's tougher. 3 stars fine with me. I think I'm okay with giving that. Right off the bat, I mean, obviously, her husband, Corvus, is going to work well. But I wanted to kind of take the subject that direction. Do we start to fiddle? I know me and you both will. Twitch drops are on Tuesday. If you guys want free drops, come check out both Alex and I stream. We'll both be streaming. I'm going to be testing, as she comes out, these cards that we've been waiting to play with, man. No, don't need them again. The cards like Moon Knight. The cards like Swordmaster. Is this finally a time where we're going to see these cards get played more? Because we're now adding, I believe, our 7th card that on our side, it's okay if it's discarded.
Yeah, there's a lot, like you're getting more and more options of like, okay, don't hit the Hela, just hit anything else. Like hit the Wolverine, hit the Proxima, hit X23. X23's been making these decks. I mean, even to some degree, you even see Dawkin at times, right? Dawkin MODOK is actually a pretty decent combo because the shards in the hand, and then it gets discarded with MODOK. That's probably why the week is designed the way it is, honestly. And I agree. You have these much more natural hits where you can Moon Knight, disrupt their hand, but also have a positive effect on your side. And I love what you said about the MODOK particular shell, because I do think that's where she's going to be the strongest. And it's one of those cards where, like, I don't know if she obviously is unplayable everywhere else outside of discard. However, in specific discard shells, I think she's going to be a shining star, especially when you consider that discard does not have much location protection. Like, it does not have abilities, does not naturally include cards that deal positively with, like, Sanctorums, right? It does not have a Doom, or does not have a, any, like, a Mr. Fantastic. It doesn't have access to those types of locations, and Proxima is going to resolve that. So I do think that it increases the flexibility of that particular deck, but the absence of the old Chavez, I wonder if this card makes up for that difference, and I don't think it does.
Yeah, again, I always kind of say, like, I've almost felt like I've gotten through the breakup. I've moved on from that Chavez in a sense of, like, okay, the discard of new. What I'll say with that, though, is the discard shell right now, if you guys haven't tried it, Helicarrier, Collector, the Morbius build, I'm sure you've tested that out a bit with Corvus. Guys, we're looking at great stats in Infinite. 100 plus only. It's at 57% almost win rate with 1,000 games. I mean, brother, if that's not good statistics at that level of play, I don't know what is. And she's going to go right into that. It is my opinion there. I mean, if you look at some of the cards, we're starting to get with this card, not even starting, we're there. That is the same as Destroy at this point. It is a tight list, and cards are doing certain things, and that's where, okay, are these type of cards going to work? Because in my head, you now have Stature, that, okay, you can start to risk these a little bit more, kind of go that direction. Swordmaster, just have great value here. Even Gambit, getting that random just doesn't matter. If you guys don't know the list, we have, X23 as what you said, Wolverine, Swarm, APOC, Helicarrier, Doc to an extent, and now Proxima Midnight. That's a lot of cards, man, that you are just completely fine with getting rid of, and you're attacking the opponent.
I think you're absolutely correct. And anytime you're able to, like, create disruption for your opponent's board, or, like, disrupt their hand, like, Moon Knight is a really annoying effect. If you were able to hit, like, your Wolverine or X23 and they lose their Doctor Doom, that's huge sad for them. What if they lose their Mr. Negative because you're playing it on turn 3, right? Like their whole game plan falls apart. And I think there's a lot of, like, potential there. And I absolutely would love to say, and I feel like I've started every single conversation with it. It's like, I agree with what you said, Cozy. You've been on the ball tonight. I do think that the shell of the Helicarrier, one of the pen and paper decks I have ready is Quinjet Collector, right? A Quinjet, not a mistake. Quinjet Collector Morbius. Use a Moon Girl to multiply Proxima Midnight. Use MODOK, right? Maybe hit Helicarrier too. Dump the Proxima Midnights. Fill your hand with new stuff. I think there's a lot of potential there. Yeah, and what I want to say is that, like, what we're seeing is, and this is what gets me excited, is you're seeing, like, this variation of discard. Kind of like what happened with Destroy, where Destroy has, like, Deadpool Destroy and has, like, the Nimrod Destroy, and they're kind of, like, separate from one another. Discard's now getting this third attempt at, like, differentiating.
It might, maybe even 4, right? Because you have Hela, you have Black Knight. Those are two different, they play their own rate. You have Collector, Helicarrier, that version. Personally, I think if you want Proxima in there, you might have to ditch the Collector package, like maybe have to go that route and maybe insert, like, if you want to go with, like, the MODOK Miracle Turn, right? That's when, like, okay, where are you putting Wolverine in the deck? How are you fitting in, a couple of those cards in there? But you gotta, I gotta tell you, man, if you play something, let's say Moon Knight, and your hand is APOC, Swarm, Proxima Midnight, it's just, you're feasting. You're feeling so much better, or even more so, Corvus Glaive, which we've been talking about. We're going to talk about on your side, but I do think Corvus did better this week, even without her. Like, I thought he was going to be, like, really reliant on Proxima. And now that marriage is going to come true within the game. I think it's going to definitely elevate both of their play for sure. But that's, like, almost the fourth deck. It's like this kind of, like, I don't care what I discard. I'm attacking you on the board with Gambit. I'm attacking your hand with Moon Knight. I'm attacking myself with Sword Master, and potentially a 3-cost card with 6 power is all of a sudden a 13 power play because of Proxima.
I think this might be the first time you've ever talked about Swordmaster on this podcast.
Probably.
Like, that's a card that I think some people are forgetting even exists, honestly. Like, it's one of those cards that has never seen play. Some of the best variants in Snap, by the way. Even the base variant is incredible. Like, it has such good... but yeah, just such a terrible card for so long, but maybe it's going to make a bit of a comeback. Something I want to run by you, Cozy, as we're talking about, like, synergistic cards, is I had this interesting thought about Dracula. Dracula, seems like there could be some synergy. Like if you're able to pop up that Apocalypse, you play the Apocalypse down. If you hit Proxima with Dracula, it's a 15 power lane because she's going to jump to Dracula as Dracula takes on the power. However, conversely, the Dracula location is usually the one you know you're going to win. It's the vertical power one, but it seems weakest when you discard Proxima. So it might be like she jumps to Dracula's lane. You're like, I got this 28 POC. Like, I don't need you there.
Yeah.
So there's like this interesting dichotomy about how like it's going to interact, and I'm curious about your thoughts.
Well, yeah, so remember at the beginning of the month, we broke all these down, and I was kind of making my point around Dracula Proxima, right? Because you have a 15 power play most likely, and even if you have to go with, you separate the, especially with Corvus, man, you can get out a lot. You could even get out APOC if you wanted to, right? Kind of set it up, have that left lane with APOC, and then you're like, hey, jump to Dracula. I need you there, right? Because then that Dracula lane is super protected because they can't, literally you have, Dracula that you can't break, and then Proxima's jumping, not playing, so she's safe. Very interesting, though, is the order of operations. I think we're going to have, it's just, honestly, it comes down to the code, right? Because 4 goes to 4-8. Does she get discarded and then see that 4-8 and then jump? I think she's going to see the 4-8 on Dracula before she jumps to a location. I think so, because it's almost at the same time, right?
I think based on the way Apocalypse interacts, the card is discarded first, Apocalypse gets the +4, and then Dracula takes the power.
Yeah.
That would insinuate to me that Proxima gets hit, jumps to the location, and then Dracula absorbs the power. That's what I would think would happen based on Apocalypse.
I'm thinking I might contact Harvard or maybe Yale and say, hey, do you guys want to have a major for the entire complications of Marvel Snap? I mean, you need a degree at this point to understand every mechanic, every damn thing that happens within the game. And like, it's funny, I've played millions of discard games and I'm like, I forgot. I have no idea. I think you were probably right there. I'll lean on you on that. Either way, though, I do think the pairing's going to work out. And, no matter which way it goes, you just have to play your game plan, according. So Dracula, one of the few cards in that deck that you're kind of hoping doesn't get discarded, but has a lot more of a shield around him because there's a bunch of other cards that can take the hit. And to that point, I wanted to bring this up. People were like, it kind of sucks because Hela and Ghost Rider doesn't work. I kind of like that because now all of a sudden you have the potential, if you do kill Proxima and you get rid of APOC and you get rid of Dracula, well, Dracula's the only one that can come down with Ghost Rider, which is kind of fun. Hela, maybe not as much, but, Ghost Rider has some potential there to maybe squeeze into a couple of those lists, although I don't particularly see it.
Yeah, like there's potential. Like I still see Ghost Rider as like a clear-cut Black Knight card. Like I feel like it fits so perfectly in Black Knight that like, I don't know if you force it into a Proxima deck because like it's exactly what you said. Like you almost just want to include cards you don't mind getting discarded. And Dracula's going to be the one. It's just going to tilt you out. Like it's going to be Dracula and then everything else you want to discard. And you're going to throw Swordmaster and it's just going to snipe. It's going to snipe Dracula every time. Yeah, it's the old way, discarding Hela.
I mean, dude, I told you what last Snapchat. I've been big on Gambit lately. I think that's going to be one of the more fun ones. Just to like, if you get, think about it. Gambit does Proxima. That's 10 power played, and then you can kill a card. So the flip there is massive. Just a massive turn, especially if you do what you were saying with non-discard synergy. So I want to kind of let's bring it that way for a second. Non-discard synergy, right? You mentioned Moon Girl. I think that is a very interesting double-up deck that could happen with Proxima. I mean, at that point, you got 14 power, baby. 14 power to go. And hear me out. You ready for this? What if you do something like you get double Proximas, you have double She-Hulks, okay? And then what you could essentially do, well, not even double She-Hulks. Like, you don't have to get the nut there, but you get the She-Hulks, you skip turn 5, and all you got to do on turn 6 is MODOK at that point. Slam a She-Hulk down as well. Double Proximas. Maybe you got an energy cheat with Corvus. You can full float the She-Hulks. I'm just saying, there's some double up synergy happening there.
No, there definitely is. I love it. Every single pod, like we're talking about new cards, you bring up the double up strategy, and it just a squirrel chasing the nut every single time, man.
You brought it up this time. Hey, listen, man, the double up Proxima was your idea. I'm just, fueling the hopamine train, copamine. Both of them.
Hoping and hoping. Yeah. Hey, buddy, listen, I do have a plan, man. I do think that, like, I'm even trying to, like, slip Meek in there. The whole idea is, like, if I could just pump discards like crazy and generate value for Collector, Meek, Morbius, and then I have Proximas dropping everywhere, it's beautiful. And the thing about Proxima that I think really helps out that I feel like nobody's mentioned it's immune to everything. It can't be Shadow Kinged. It can't be Shang-Chi'd. It can be Magneto'd, to be honest. That's like the only major thing. But other than that, like that card drops, it hits exactly where you want. And as you mentioned in the introduction, it will, I believe, based on the information we have, it'll trigger based on like one will trigger, it'll go to the lowest. The next will trigger, it'll go to the next lowest. Like they'll consider each other like way better than like say having multiple Miss Marvels will.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That's a good point. And on that note, because of that, right, we looked at Moon Girl. Let's talk about, do you remember? I mean, dude, it feels like yesterday, but we're going on a year. It's crazy how fast time is moving. Storm used to be a pretty cemented card and discard. I mean, Storm used to be in a lot of the lists. Remember back in the day? I mean, listen, man, closing off that location, and either you have the Drac play that you can get away with, or you're like, okay, I don't have to play anything. You do a little math in your head. You're like, as long as I don't play 9 power, I'm going to win. I'm going to win that location. And you know damn well that discard is awesome at winning at least one lane, right? You got one lane for sure most of the time. So this is the other route that I see. You just get the win on the left side here. Don't even worry about it. And then you're good to go. You just win the other lane that you need to win with the Morbius, the Collector, whatever way you want to go.
Yeah, I mean, you ask about my luck. This is how my luck works. I play Storm in a lane. They play the Iron Lad to follow up on turn 4. That Iron Lad hits their Devil Dinosaur, and I retreat. That's how my life works. But I totally get what you're saying. Like, you can undercommit there slightly because you don't want to play. You often don't want to play Dracula in a Storm location. You can, you absolutely can. But like you're like, okay, I just overkilled this by 18 power or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? Like Dracula's the big boy. You want it to hit, like you want it to hit something, right?
Yep.
I totally feel that because like you can leave the Storm location and allow Proxima just to give it that pump up.
But not only that, you've got Meek, which, you know, do you think Meek makes these lists, right? Because he kind of helps the Storm thing too. He kind of pops around. Listen, we kind of, blaze past it. I truly think it's going to be so cool to have this Wolverine Proxima X23. Again, we just mentioned some of the cards that are playing themselves. Having that Swarm and then Meek and Morbius, just that little interaction, to me seems absolute hilarious. And then even if Apoc's in hand, and that's where the Dracula can do his thing too, that's going to be a very fun kind of like miracle deck, if you will.
Yeah, I think that anytime you're playing Proxima, you are playing MODOK. For the simple reason that none of the targeted discard can really hit Proxima. Like outside of Blade, if you top decker, like if you think about it, Sif's probably not going to hit her, right? Colleen Wing's not going to hit her under most circumstances. And so from there, you start to run out of options. The only thing that's consistently going to hit her is going to be MODOK. And that's why, like, I had this design with like this Moon Girl deck I want to experiment with because I'm gonna play Meek in it. Because like you're just gonna wipe everything out, allow tons of things to get discarded, and run from there, right? And anytime you're playing MODOK, I think that Meek's gonna be a good spot there. Because hey, remember, if it hits 1/5, if it's a 1/5, it's done its job. Like that's a good stat line. It's basically Martyr, except Martyr's gonna move to lose you the game. I mean, Meek can move to lose you the game too. That's the unfortunate reality of it. And I just think MODOK's really the card you want to play with Proxima.
Well, listen, I'm going to talk about it more in a bit here, but I do want to mention here, because my thoughts was going around Invisible Woman, and I'm like, okay, is there a deck where it's, her on 2, maybe even wave out early, whatever, and then you put the MODOK in. It's not a hella deck, it's just this last minute play. But guess what? We don't need to do that anymore because we've got Supergiant, which Supergiant kind of felt a little weird in hella. There wasn't a lot of need to, play that. But now it's like, hey, you put the MODOK down on 5, that's perfect. That's what you need, because then on 6, you're able to play that Dracula. You're able to play what you need to play without worry, and then you just look at your hand full of the Proximas and whatnot, and you're feeling pretty good. But to your point, MODOK is in this spotlight for that reason. There is no, like, that is the certified, it's going to feel like the old dependable discard in ways where, like, you just hope you need that MODOK, right? You're like, you need that MODOK to get the play.
For me, it's been the trick of like, how do I get Apocalypse on the board in a natural way? How do I utilize Apocalypse's power? And that's what Chavez did so perfectly, so unbelievably perfectly in the old dependable discard. And so I think it's going to take a little bit of testing, but I think that this particular card, it's not going to need the testing that Supergiant did or Meek did for that matter. I think it's going to be a much more natural pick. It's much more niche, but I think that we have some degree of confidence in where it's going to be working well. And it's just a matter of finding the right 12 cards. I think that like first shot, I bet you I'll be like 10 of 12 on the right cards. And then as I test, I bet you'll refine it and you'll be the same way. And I love the Supergiant call out. Supergiant's one of those cards. I really like what it's done to the game. I really like how it's flipped things around. And ultimately, like, I do think that anytime you get the opportunity to like adjust the strategic flow of a game, like with Supergiant Modok, and then you have this turn 6 where you can do a pop off, I think that's really cool, Cozy. I like that call out because most opponents won't be able to prepare, or at least like they just won't know what you're doing. And that's how you steal cubes in Marvel Snap.
Exactly how you steal. I mean, heck, I was playing, take this on. This is the deck I'm going to talk about in a second, but I was playing this at one of the top, I think it's 2 in the world and in the Europe side of things in this tournament. And I played a Supergiant deck with Dr. Doom and Eli. He played Loki. And it was the most toe-to-toe match. And it's mainly like, what are they doing? What is this? And to our point, not only now, a Supergiant works best when she's an offense and defensive card, right? Because all of a sudden you have this synergy that you're working for. But at the same time, you also are stopping Sarah. You're stopping Loki most of the time, Jane Foster. You're doing a lot there, and it just feels like it's going to work on offense and defense. And maybe there's a reason why all the Black Orders are going to have that synergistic thing together coming out at the same time. Now, I brought this deck up. I want to just talk about it. This is where I see, again, Proxima entering, right? I mean, again, I think you might have to cut the collector package here. If the collector package survives, I also think that's fine. Maybe Calling Wings the next one out. But this definitely, these stats do not lie. I mean, 100 plus gameplay, latest patch, plus 20 cubes. We have nearly 57%, 1,000 games. Dude, this is a hot list for that level of play.
Yeah, like I'm going somewhere similar here, but I'm actually leaning into the collector package, right?
Okay,
So it's kind of funny how our minds are on similar kind of wavelengths, except on opposite ends of the wavelength, right? Like, but like, so I'm leaning into the collector package. Cozy might lean off of the collector package, but either way, Cozy, we're gonna have some fun decks to discuss and compare during the week.
For sure, man. So that is kind of what we have on Proxima. Again, there are plenty of discard stuff. I mean, maybe you even can, again, work in stature. Maybe you can get Silver Samurai. He works with what Iron Man? Hey, actually, you could do like Iron Man and then have Proxima go to that zeroed location, and it's 14.
It's 14 power.
Wait a second, that
right.
could be kind of cool. Yeah. So anyway, I feel like there's a lot of different synergies that we could come up with, think about, and what I love about Twitch drops lining up with it. You see this like just flow of not only the creators streaming and testing these new cards, but the communities all together, right? And they're all like giving ideas and stuff. And truly, we're gonna find the deck that works this week, no question. Again, sum it up, guys. Here it is. If you play discard, you got to get Proxima. If you don't, you are feeling fantastic skipping. And I don't even think I used to say if you got Corvus, get Proxima. If you got a Corvus for the ramp stuff, I don't even think you have to. Like, if you still don't play discard, you're probably still fine. I would get Proxima, but it's an easier week to decide with a lot of banger cards coming out in the weeks to come.
And on that note, I do think that's like kudos to Second Dinner. I think we need more of these types of weeks that are a little more clear cut and like, hey, like if you don't play discard, if you don't play negative, if you don't play ramp, if you don't play whatever, right?
Yep.
You can maybe skip this week with some degree of confidence.
Yeah.
Right. I do actually like that because free-to-play players, we have an additional card coming out every month, and the first week is 2 cards, right? Giving players the opportunity to actually breathe and say, okay, I can actually skip this week and I feel okay. I think that's better for the game as a whole.
So let's get to our next subject. That'll wrap it up on Proxima next week. We're going to talk about the new season. Excited about that. 5 loves, 5 hates, guys. This is a new segment where we're going to talk about our 5 favorite cards this season, or we just are loving right now. Top 5 loves. And then we're going to talk about cards we are just hating. We've had our most hated list. I think there's definitely mixed opinions on cards out there right now. And we'll see if Alex and I's list kind of match up together. Alex, we'll start it with the hate. Let's start it with a hate. Give me a card this season that's just pissing you off, bro.
I hate to say it because I like the card. I know you love the card. I'm just kind of sick of Deadpool. I know you're upset already. We're off to a great start. But like, he's too good, man. He's too good. And like, I respect the fact that Hulkbuster took a piece off him. Hulkbuster's being cut from some of the decks now, which is probably kind of interesting to see. But like, for me, like, I'm just sick of seeing him. He's too good. And like, with Nico, talk about luck again. Every single Destroy player I play, it's Nico into Destroy Deadpool, draw 2. And I'm like, what do I even do now?
No.
It's come to the point, if someone snaps on me on turn 1, I know what's coming.
No. My Nico's got hidden text for sure. The move right 1 card and change location first 2 turns, no matter what. Like that. There's no question that's mine. I'm shocked. Yeah, I like Deadpool. I do. I like where he's at. I think he's only going to get better, man, because of the movie coming out. That's just, at least that archetype. But my gosh, yeah, I disagree here. But this is the good point. Like, this is what I love about Marvel Snap. People have cards that they absolutely hate, and then there's ones that others don't as much. But I think I'll go ahead and pick one that we could just kind of both say, yeah, hey, we both hate him together. Not seeing him maybe as much in all of my decks. But like again, and we talk about it, we don't have to do this all the time. I just Leech is just always the one to kick the subject off with. Like I've never feel great about playing this damn card. Never feels good. Never like I walk away from that game feeling like $100. There are more decks right now that are playing things like Infinite, so you can kind of like relish off the Leech. But can we both just nod our heads and move on from this guy?
Listen, I have some complex thoughts about Leech, and I'm not trying to like bait community anger here or anything like that, but like lately I've kind of been happy Leech exists. Let me explain. Let me defend myself right off the top. Leech has given me the opportunity to counteract Hela in a way that makes sense. It's been a release valve that I feel like we've needed, but sometimes when Lockjaw exists and they're able to get Hela out anyway somehow, it's like, well, the Leech did nothing. But like, I totally understand why Leech is frustrating. It is super frustrating to play against. But this past week, with Hela being what it is, I have been able to say, you know what? Leech actually kind of makes sense right now. Like, this is kind of why Leech exists.
Yeah.
And yes, it's frustrating. But this week has been a perfect example of why Leech has to be in the meta.
I mean, it is why we have Valve cards, as we call them, right? Because if we do miss an OTA and things get out of hand, let's say it's Sarah, we have Super Giant. If it's Leech, if it's Blob, if it's whatever, we have Leech. So these cards exist for that reason. Hopefully we don't have too many OTAs where we skip them, because I think that, the game's just much healthier, more fun, more experimentative if we do have the OTAs. But okay, I don't disagree with all that. I also just hate Leech, so I'll move on from that.
I hate this variant. Like, I don't understand why you have this variant favorited.
I do
like,
it now
not
because
have
of you.
A better variant?
No. It's strictly targeted, just because I know the hate fuels through you, and I just want to get you all matching the color of your shirt there. Also, we're not matching, but we're damn close this time around. I don't have an Adidas red. I'm gonna have to add one to my collection.
Gonna get some stripes on you, bud. You looked great with them.
Well, let's go. Should we go to another hate or to our first love?
I got a card we can hate.
Let's do it.
And I have an idea of how we can hate this card less. I've been thinking a lot about Lockjaw lately.
Dude, I have Lockjaw on my hate. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, you hate Lockjaw too? Okay.
This season,
listen, I have always been a Lockjaw believer, but lately I'm just like, there's been this consistent thread of like, why does this deck annoy everybody? Why is this deck putting so much power out for free? Why is Thanos doing so? Why is Hela doing? Oh, it's Lockjaw. Over and over again, it's Lockjaw that's cheating out all this power all the time. How can we fix this? It's obviously a problem. They approached the Lockjaw change by only allowing it to swing one at a time. That was specifically targeted towards Thanos, also including the Quinjet nerf at the time, which used to make the stones 0 cost. Now you have Black Swan that makes them 0 cost anyway, but that's a whole other conversation. But Cozy, what do you think of this? Because you hate Lockjaw too, right?
Well, I was gonna say what I hate about Lockjaw what I was gonna say quickly is my most hated Lockjaw cards aren't even like Infinite coming out or anything like that. It's Kyera and it's Vision. Those are the two cards I hate coming out of it. Kyera has made it to where like Lockjaw used to be like, hey, get those Infinites out, fill the lane, buddy. I'm gonna kill them. Now you see the Infinite get cheated out, and you're like, I'm screwed. I have that lane. I cannot win against that lane. So Kyera, I feel like, has made Lockjaw tough. And then, dude, Vision being 9 power. When a Vision comes out of there, I'm like, damn it. The flexibility hurts, man.
Yeah, Vision's absolutely one of my favorite cards in the game, actually. He's written as my love card for my 5 cost.
Nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
a special shout out to Vision. But what I was going to say was, Cozy, I got this amazing thought. I was thinking about, like, how would I fix Lockjaw? Tell me if you agree with this. Make him like, I don't care what he make him a 3/5, make him a 3/4. Sounds like a buff, but wait. Every time you play into him, okay, he loses 2 power. Every time he swaps a card, he loses power. I came up with this idea because when I was watching Inhumans, part of the story, which was borderline non-existent as it was,
yeah, it was
a show, but Inhumans, he got tired. Lockjaw got tired. There was actually like a storyline, a thread about how Lockjaw was tired and he had to be like recuperated. And so if he's constantly teleporting people, he should have a reduction of power for every time he rotates. Boom, balanced.
Love it. I like it. I do. I think you're onto something. Because it's the effect is cool enough to keep in the game, right?
Yeah.
But like, you can't, like, there needs to be that downside, right? Because most of the time you're getting Infinite, you're getting Vision, you're getting whatever. But if you happen to get a Power Stone, and then the Power Stone plays out, or let's even say Mind Stone, right? And then you get the Lockjaw Lost Power, like, hey, you took that risk, and that did, that did hurt. Wasp is the same thing. I like it. I'm actually for that one. Because it was on my hated list. I'm here for it, buddy, and I like it. Let's go ahead and talk about another hated card. I don't know. It's funny enough. I don't hate Thanos right now, but I hate Blob. Blob, I hate to love Blob. It's not a card that I want nerfed, nothing like that. I think, again, it comes back to Kyra. But gosh, it just, man, I was playing some decks where, like, kind of the peak power I could get is like 22 in a lane, and I'm like, this isn't good enough. Like, my absolute pop-off hand, where everything goes right, still can't get above 22 in this certain deck. A Blob just beats me. So Blob is where I'm going to direct some hate right now.
You know what? I don't hate Blob, but I had this thought too, not to be like, I'm going to be a balanced person today, but I had this other thought about Blob. I think the thing is that Blob now gets to, like, great power, very strong power, but they still top deck because the cards didn't get destroyed. I think he should still wipe the deck out. I still think he should just wipe the deck out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, okay.
Take the power of whatever cards he absorbed up to 15 or whatever the hell it is, and then they still can't top deck. And I think that is, like, enough just to make him like, now you're balanced, baby. Now you're where you have to be.
Okay, all right. Hit me with one that you hate.
You know what? Can I move to love? There's a card I really want to talk about.
Which one? Hit me.
Do you really want me to throw some hate down? Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
man.
You want me to hate Cozy? I'll hate.
Hey.
You want me to hate? This is a bit of a different one, though, because, like, I'm going to talk about a card I hate playing, but I don't think it's a meta problem. Can I talk about how I just hate playing Mr. Negative? And I can't understand why people like playing negative. I hate negative.
People ask
You've
always hated
negative
him.
decks all the time. I'm like, I hate the way this card plays. You know what playing Mr. Negative feels like? It feels like holding your breath for the entire game for turn 6 or 7. That's what playing Mr. Negative. It's like, do I draw negative? Okay, I got him. Am I gonna get, like, the cards? Am I gonna play turn 6 or 7? That's what it feels like. It feels like you're constantly holding your breath to play this damn card. I can't stand the archetype. It just doesn't jive with me. So when we're talking hate, I just don't like playing Mr. Negative.
You've gone up and down with things like Thanos before. Like, I've seen you kind of go back. You have statistically just, like, have hated negative. So, like, you've kind of always hated negative. I'll give you that. You know what the problem with him now is? Like, him and Hela and a couple other these, like, kind of like, hey, you pop off decks had their, like, they all had their place, right? Now, Mr. Negative's the worst of that bunch. Although I still think he is, works in, like, these Ravona shells where you have an alternative option. But yeah, he is not in his best place right now. Funny enough, you said it's like you don't think anything should happen to it, but you hate playing against it. Or I guess you said you hate playing this deck. You don't mind playing against it all the time. I don't hate this deck really, but when I play against it, man, the Tribunal deck, there's nothing more. I don't know about you, but when I don't have, like, there's so many decks. If you don't have Enchantress, it's like, okay, cool. All right. We call it a day. It's over. It's done. You can just see it. And you know they've got the Onslaught and the Iron Man. And no matter what, man, I should have paid more attention. My teacher was right. I miss the math every time. I'm like, it's 26 something. It's 20. And I'm always off every time, man.
I always say 28. I'm always like, can I go 28 in 2 lanes? That's kind of what I do in my head.
It's
Usually it's around
28.
28, right?
It's
26, 28.
Yeah.
Sometimes 30 if they happen to get some better luck. But yeah, like, listen, Tribunal, I think the only thing keeping it in check right now, like, it's really good. It's the fact that there's Thanos everywhere. Like, Thanos Reality Stones takes a turn away from it if they try to limbo, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think that, like, Tribunal, if they nerf Thanos where Thanos falls off, Tribunal's just gonna skyrocket, because, like, I do think that Tribunal is a very, very, very legitimate archetype, and I actually don't mind playing it. I think it's pretty fun.
Compared to Thanos, though, what I love about Tribunal, if it does take over, it's like you have a direct answer, right? You have, like people, Hela is kind of where it's at, is you're taking away a lot of, like, the precision timing of skill and stuff with what Hela brings. Not saying that Hela decks don't have skill when you snap and when things happen, but there's definitely less of it per se. And there's not an obvious counter. Like, there's some, but not a lot, right? Tribunal, if it rises to the top, we definitely have more than one release valve here, right? But those are my hated. And it's not that I, like, think they need to be nerfed. None of them, actually. Maybe a point or two on Lockjaw and or Hela. I want to move to the love. Do you have any other hate to throw? You ready to go to Love Fest?
I'm ready to love.
I'm ready to love. Hit me with the love.
All right. Can I just say that I've been really, really, really loving Snowguard? And I know that's a bit random, But Loki's kind of
I
making
was
a
gonna
bit
say
of a
you playing
comeback, so I
Loki.
started
Okay.
playing Loki
Yeah.
again. And like, I'm just like, I kind of forgot how much I love this card. Like, the utility of the Hawk is absolutely incredible. And listen, if there is like Savage Land and there's like raptors on the board, and I'm holding my bear, my Papa Bear, I'm throwing it on Savage Land. I'm like, enjoy your raptor fiesta over there while I win that location, right? Like, I think it's such an amazingly versatile card. And it's unfortunate it's kind of pigeonholed into Loki a little bit. I would love to see Snowguard being played outside of Loki. But honestly, how good is this card? It really is phenomenal.
Yeah, and I think when we get like Mockingbird and stuff, we'll talk about like Devil Dinosaur could find its own archetype outside of Loki, which I'm kind of looking forward to a bit, right? I like that a ton. Yeah, good pick. Kind of like one I wasn't expecting, and definitely the Bear and the Hawk again, ton of fun. For me, man, I just talked about how Hela's so hard to address. The way that I've been addressing Hela hardcore is with, first of all, Goliath, and second of all, my first love card, and that's Negasonic. I have been enjoying these making the early turns matter, as Alex loves, getting that quick priority, not letting them get ahead of that, maybe a super giant out, whatever, and just sweeping the board, making sure that they don't even get to play these cards, and you make it very obvious where they're going to play. I will stand on the hill that Mobius, Immobius, Negasonic Legion, those kind of cards, these cards are the most slept on. These are just you need game changers. You need cards that can swing the game. And I think Negasonic's one of them.
I think they're cube stealers too. Like, people really sleep on like the amount of cubes that can be stolen from like cards like Rogue, Negasonic, Legion. Like, these are the cards that, like, when people think they got a plan, it just gets ripped out from underneath. It's like the rug pull card, which I think is so good in Snap, right? Because like it's the cubes that matter at the end of the day. People will go 8 cubes and they're never saying, "Oh, what if they Negasonic?" It's just never happening.
Do you remember when Goku and Gohan took on this Negasonic and DBZ? They had the Kamehameha against her purple energy ball here.
Is this before? Is this like a Majin Negasonic?
Yes. This is after the arc where she kills why can't I think of the little clown's name?
Majin Buu.
No. The little clown, the white one who dies by like the first episode.
Chaozu.
Yeah, Chaozu. Sorry, I'm sorry. I had brain fart. Yes. Negasonic kills her. Frieza joins up, and they get together. You haven't seen that one? Have you seen that art? You've seen them all.
I've not seen that. We're going down some crazy fan fiction here, but I've not seen it. I would love to see it though. It looks like she's actually charging up some sort of Kamehameha. She's got like the
favorite DBZ character.
Oh, it's Vegeta. It has to be Vegeta.
Man,
it's always been Vegeta.
So
I got a Vegeta. He's right there. You can see him. You can see him on the screen.
Oh,
like, I got a Vegeta bobblehead. My brother got that for me like 10 years ago.
I like the Vegeta pick. I do like Majin. I do like Boo a lot too. And then Brawly, I've always had a thing for Brawly too. I think he's just he's a sick guy. And then they got like too powerful. They're on like SS20 now, I think.
Yeah, you know what? I really do like Trunks too. Actually, right there over my shoulder is the History of Trunks DVD. Right there.
Sword Trunks is so sick. Yeah, his whole plotline, awesome. Yeah, I love it. Shout out to DBZ fans out there. Hopefully we'll get a movie, a live. Dude, have you seen the live action movie? No, don't even have you seen it. Have you seen like the memes around it? There's a live action DBZ.
I've seen it. It's old though. It's like 15 years old, isn't it?
I think you funded it. I think they had a $40 budget. Like, dude, was that you? Was that a homemade movie?
Yeah, actually, I made it on a camcorder in my high school.
It would be better than what's out there. If you ever want to just have the worst day of your life, I don't know why you'd choose to hate yourself that much, but go check out DBZ, the remake. They ruin all canon. I think they're doing that now with like Avatar, and they did it with One Piece.
You talking about the Last Airbender or the super tall blue guys?
No, the Last Airbender. Yeah. They redid One Piece. Avatar thought they could do it too, but I think it kind of didn't work out.
See, I don't really know anime at all. Like, anime is one of those things I've not watched.
Yeah. I love how you say Pokemon and anime. It's great.
What? I'm just speaking exactly how it's spelled. I don't quite understand what the problem is. People actually came after me. Like, I'm talking about all these Pokemons I love, and everyone's all upset with me. Listen, I love Bulbasaur. I don't know what, like, it's one of my favorite Pokemon in the world. I mean, he's got the Vine Whip special move. He creates like ladders for people when they're in sinking ships. Have you not seen the episode? Bulbasaur is an absolute champ.
I love Alex Coccia. All right, buddy. Hit me with another love.
All right, I want to show some love for one of my favorite 6-drops in Marvel Snap, one of the most consistent 6-drops in Marvel Snap, and that is Magneto. Tell me that this
Mm,
card is just not a perennial absolute champion. Like, this card needs no changes, needs no nerfs, needs no buffs. It has been the same card since beta, and it is just incredible. I never ever feel bad about playing Magneto. And even when it gets like piggied, or even when it gets like something happens to it, I'm like, still 12 power. Still
yeah.
pretty damn good. I love this card so much. It is an absolute god tier card.
And Magneto's a card I love that I just don't play. Like, I love him. Yes, great. But I just don't play him. I don't find him in a lot of my decks. And like, if you make specific decks like around him, he's so good. He's so good. Every now and then I'll get into like a Magneto control deck. But yeah, I agree. He's a good card. Very.
Anytime I've been defaulting on, like, you know, like you often default to like Doctor Doom. Like, that's kind of like, it's like, I need a 6-drop. I'll just Doom, right? I mean, lately you've been like, I'll just Agatha, but that's a whole other conversation.
Hey, listen.
I love that deck, by the way, dude. That was an absolute fire list. But
She's on my love list. Okay. She's on my
I
love
knew
list.
she was going to.
You call it hopium. You called it hopium, and I think it works. Is it exactly a meta breaker? No. Is it a good deck? Some would argue no. Probably no. But damn it, Alex, was she fun, man? It was so fun, dude. I'm telling you, when you do the Twitch drop streams, you got to try it out. You got to do a little Agatha love.
That was one of your best videos in a while. Like, I absolutely loved it. It was so phenomenal. And like, the thing about it too is like, it's so soul crushing. I'll tell you what's soul crushing about Agatha. It's not playing the Agatha, it's losing and watching Agatha come down on turn 6 and realizing you just lost to an Agatha deck.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
the moment where you're like, okay, all right,
That-
I need to put this game down for a bit and walk away.
The
And
highs
just
are
like,
high. The highs
yeah,
are
the
high,
highs
the
are
lows are low.
definitely high.
Yeah, the highs are high, the lows are low. But with Agatha, funny enough, like the card that with her, Leader is what made me enjoy Agatha a ton because he answers a lot of decks right now, man. Like Destroy popping down the knoll. I'm like, fantastic, man. I'll throw down a Leader. Like man, I want to play more Leader. I want to dedicate more my time to more Leader. I think he is just not played enough.
You know, it's one of those things where like, be careful what you wish for. Like Cozy talking
True.
about how Leader has to make a comeback. When Leader makes a comeback, everyone's gonna be so friggin' upset. So maybe we temper our expectations a little bit. Maybe we shouldn't have maybe cut this part out of the episode because like if Leader makes a comeback, people are gonna tilt out of their minds.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Listen, I already talked about Supergiant enough. She's on my list. Agent Coulson, as always. Anything else before we go into best decks?
Yeah, I want to just give a special shout out to a card that got buffed. It was one of the most fantastic buffs Marvel Snap has ever done. It has a remarkable impact on the game, and no one complains about it because it's absolutely fair, and it's Magic. I just want to give a special shout out to Magic. I think this change has been one of the best. It's aged like absolute wine. Yeah. What a great change they made. Really creates a new dimension of gameplay. It's susceptible to all these different things. You're never just making limbo and just like, oh, I got turn 7, baby, let's go. It's like there's always risks associated with it. I think this is one of the best cards in Snap right now from just a pure, it's fair, it's awesome. I just love Magic. I think it needs some respect.
Great take. No, honestly, good take. Like, I do. I think Limbo is definitely just like a fun location. Feels good. Out on 3. Like, I don't know why. Dude, it was a 5 cost. That's so weird. That's so insane to think about. This is definitely where Magic, belongs ultimately. With that though, dude, let's go ahead and hop to our last subject. It's Infinity Conquest week. All right. The meta right now, as we've already talked a lot about it, so we can kind of maybe rapid fire a bit more. Thanos, Hela, those are kind of the top 2 heavy punchers right now. I think we can all agree on that because of just their consistency, the cards coming out around them. Those are going to be some better decks. In Infinity Conquest, though, things are different. We know Sarah Control and Loki are some of the decks, that definitely, if you got a bit more high skill, those are the ones to play, to target, to really use things in a defensive manner in a lot of ways. Sometimes in those decks right now, Loki's the worst card in the deck, and he just helps you win if you need to switch and the deck's appropriate, right? So those are the first 2 that come to my mind when I'm going into Infinity Conquest. What else you got out there?
Listen, I do think that right now Annihilus as a whole is being slept on. I think it's criminally underplayed. Its win rates are approaching like 59% in some circumstances.
Yep.
And like it's Annihilus plus anything you want. Yep. Like you just add Annihilus, Sentry, and Hood into a deck, and you're just laughing. I am enjoying the shells that include the Darkhawk package. I like the disruption of Darkhawk. I like the play of Annihilus. So you got the vertical power. But in Conquest, Infinity Conquest specifically, you have to be a little wary of the Sarah Control style decks because they will pump that Darkhawk. They will kind of be a little more problematic for those early point getters, especially like Sentry is going to be susceptible to something like a Shang-Chi. But listen, like even if Sentry gets punched out, like the Void, they can't deal with it very effectively.
No.
It's still a big power swing. So I really do like a Nihilus going into this Infinity Conquest week.
Two quick notes on this. This might be the most interesting Infinity Conquest because Sarah always reigns in Infinity Conquest. However, guys, listen, Sarah's number one weakness, number one right now is Hela. She can't deal with it. It's very tough. And so because Hela's going to be played a ton, I'm wondering if this will be a very interesting Infinity Conquest because of that. And to your point, 100%. Why? Because Century forces players to, like, Annihilus is kind of a control card. It forces people to play right. You're kind of making them adjust their game plan, which is like just part of the package. And then you can do the crazy, you know, swap things. And the Hood is always just a great turn one play. And then it's just you get the Demon as well, the 1/6. It all kind of marries together perfectly. I agree. Annihilus Balance especially is probably my favorite. We talked about Destroy. Obviously doing really well right now. If you play Destroy in Infinity Conquest, you're probably going to do, you know, pretty good. Probably throw in one or two, maybe a card in there they don't expect. Maybe a tech card, Alex. Zabu, Shang-Chi, the Double Force. That's what rules the week typically, though.
No, absolutely. Like if you're going to play Zabu, Shang-Chi, you may as well add Iron Lad in there, get some value, right? It's just, listen, like, talking about Hela too, I gotta say something about Hela that's been driving me nuts. Even if you try to counter Hela with Cosmo, you play the Cosmo onto the Lockjaw location, and then they like bring out a Giganto, and you're like, great, now I can't even Shang-Chi that. Like, it's like, it gets you on every edge, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't do a special show to talk about decks going into this week that I think are major climbers. At a 57% win rate right now, and a phenomenal cube rate, is Galactus. Can you believe Galactus making a comeback in a Ravonna shell that's actually running a Nihilus? But you have a Ravonna-based shell with Galactus. Beautiful deck right now, and people just aren't expecting Galactus. Very high cube rate.
Let me hear from you and the audience. I'm going to throw this out there because I think we actually brought this up. Maybe it was the last Snapchat, maybe a couple times ago. A 2/2 Cosmo. What do you think? Do you think... I feel like Cosmo's the weakest tech card right now. Like, I don't think it's close.
I think you got to be very careful with Cosmo.
I know.
Like I think you probably leave it where it is, because if Cosmo is able to be slipped in everywhere, then it's really problematic. But it does have a location-specific effect, and
2/2 is bad
I
too.
don't know.
2/2
I can
is a
see
bad
it happening,
stat line.
honestly.
Yeah, 2/2 is not a good stat line. Like Armor's a 2/3, right? Like I think it would be a fun experiment for an OTA possibly, because we just don't see a lot of. It is a card you need to be careful with. No question. Yeah, obviously, Dark Hawk, to your point, you know, the Beta Ray deck is great. Also, without question, we also have the Dark Hawk Leech, to your point, to handle, you know, the Blob. That deck's fantastic against Hela and Thanos, man. Like, you have the Dark Hawk for the Thanos just to get huge, but then you also have the Leech to handle, you know, the rest of it. Last two decks, though, Alex, we're going to talk about, obviously, turn 7 Shi'Nai. You just talked about Magic. That deck's just so good. The high Evo days, just roll with that if you guys want kind of an easy glide. That deck kind of held its own for a long time in Conquest. And then finally, man, I would say Daredevil Control doesn't get enough respect. We kind of did a lot of Control going into the season, but man, you know, you can throw in so many different cards. Professor X is awesome against Hela. And yes, it's not the best card, but you have a lot of ways like Miss Marvel, Jeff, to get back in there. The classic days, you have the Alliance. That's just not getting enough respect either, buddy. And no question.
Yeah, and honestly, that's a great call too. Pro X not being expected, not being played very often. And if you're looking to counter Hela too, it's a bit riskier, but we talked about it before. I do think Tribunal is interesting. You kind of negate, like, they're pop-off decks, right? And Tribunal, because of the way it just kind of attacks all the locations, Hela is kind of out of their hands a little bit. They can go very vertical, but they're going to need like Infinite and Giganto to land in a lane together to top off at 30 power, right? So like, I do think that like there is potential there to actually get some good stats on the board and just play your game and let RNG do its thing, and hopefully it goes against the Hela player, which if you're me, it never will. But I do think Tribunal is pretty interesting in this meta right now too.
Yeah, play Cosmo with that if you're going into Infinity Conquest. That way you're not like completely dead to something like Sarah Control. You got to get 5 matchups in your favor, and sometimes it can be tough in there. But either way, guys, those are the decks that I would play in Infinity Conquest. Or Proxima Midnight coming out, so discard is surely going to find its way in there as well. We already talked about the stats. And speaking of, on Alex's side, we're going to be talking about her husband, Corvus Glaive. We're going to see his final rankings. We got the top 10 discard cards that Alex and I put together, and we're going to rank those with it being discard couple weeks now. And then the Snapchat mailbag. Next week, we have one of our favorite episodes covering the whole season, taking a look back of our final rankings, and it's going to be definitely one of the more crazy seasons of Marvel Snap. Thank you guys so much for hanging out, and until the next one, happy snapping.